In the dim glow of a hotel room in Istanbul, I sat at 3:13 a.m., still in the suit I'd worn to the evening's grueling negotiations. The fabric clung to me, heavy with dried sweat, as I stared at my laptop. An email had arrived, its subject line a taunt. "Don't be selfish." The words on the screen wavered, my mind struggling to grasp their weight. She'd written that she'd handled everything, that my villa, built through a decade of relentless discipline, was sold to erase her ex-boyfriend's gambling debts. She called it necessary, claimed I had plenty left, and capped it with a smiley face emoji. My mouth tasted of metal, but I didn't shout or cry. I shut the laptop, rose, and gazed at the city's jagged skyline, a steady fire kindling in my chest. She thought she'd outmaneuvered me, that I'd returned defeated, compliant. She didn't know I'd been ready for betrayal long before she learned to deceive. We'd met 6 years earlier. I was guarded, methodical, my life built on calculated steps. She was a whirlwind, vibrant, reckless, a force I naively thought I could tame. I should have seen the signs. The small lies, the late nights, the weekends away with friends. They piled up like decay beneath a polished surface, and I'd chosen to ignore them, mistaking patience for resilience. That ended now. I picked up the phone and dialed the police. The villa, though listed under both our names on the deed she flaunted, was legally held by a private company I'd established years ago. A safeguard I never shared. Any sale without my approval was not just invalid but a crime. Fraud, identity theft, money laundering. I hung up without giving my name. They'd trace it soon enough. Next, I called the real estate agent, a greedy middleman who'd facilitated the deal without hesitation. My voicemail was brief. "The sale is void. The authorities are involved. Contact the buyer and seller immediately." By the time my flight landed the next day, her world was unraveling. My phone buzzed with her frantic messages, her number lighting up repeatedly. I silenced them. When I pulled into the driveway of my city house, no longer ours, her car was there, parked haphazardly, the door ajar as if she'd bolted inside in a panic. I didn't hurry. I sat in my car watching the house's windows flicker, letting her simmer in the chaos she'd sown. Inside, she was a mess, pacing, phone clutched to her ear, eyes wild. As I stepped through the door, she whirled toward me, voice cracking. "They're saying the sale's being undone," she stammered. "They're saying I'm under investigation." Her makeup streaked down her face, her carefully crafted mask dissolving into something desperate. Exposed. I said nothing. I placed a thick folder on the dining table. She stared at it, frozen, as if it might explode. Inside were photographs, bank records, emails between her and her ex, evidence I'd collected for months, patiently, silently. Every stolen dollar, every clandestine meeting, every promise to help him just once more was documented. Her hands trembled as she leafed through the pages, her eyes widening with the dawning truth. "You knew," she whispered, voice breaking. I held her gaze, steady and unflinching. "I gave you room to err," I said softly. "You chose to destroy yourself." The final strike wasn't mine but the system's. The villa's buyer, a front managed by my lawyer, had filed a lawsuit for fraud and misrepresentation. The real estate agent, scrambling to save himself, had turned over every incriminating message. Her accounts were locked, her reputation in tatters, and her ex had vanished the moment the funds dried up, leaving her to face the consequences alone. No one would touch her now. She collapsed to the floor, sobbing, but the sound was faint, like a storm raging behind a locked window. I stood over her, feeling only a cold, resolute calm. Not anger, not triumph, just the quiet certainty of a man who'd refused to be deceived. I turned to leave, pausing at the door to deliver her own words back to her. "Don't be selfish." Each word landed like a shard of glass. Then I stepped out, the heavy door closing behind me, locking her in with the ruin she'd created. The night sky stretched wide and dark, but I walked forward without pause. There was nothing to grieve, only the clarity of freedom and the unyielding truth that I'd played the long game and won.